Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. Good morning, everybody. I was just taking a little dust bunny. I found a little dust bunny and I'm like, oh, get out of here. And it was stuck to my hand. Then the thing starts. How are you guys today? Oh, wait. We got to start the music. I knew I was forgetting something. All right, so Monday, we've got a little bit lighter of a week. This week, we've got auctions because the CPI is next week, but there is still plenty of things going on. And the big one, apparently, is that it sounds like Rafah invasion is imminent once again. I don't know, that wasn't the first time that we heard this. But this one kind of seems a little bit more real. We'll talk about that in a second. But in the meantime, let's go and check out the charts and see what we have here this morning. Come back over to here. Okay, so here's the treasuries. There was quite a bit of movement on Friday with that non-farms report. Disappointing. Well, let's say missing the numbers, but not disappointing because the market loves that. The market loves weak non-farms numbers. So big jump there in the treasuries, and now overnight a little bit of a move higher. So if we've got that going on and we've got geopolitical risk, maybe you could buy treasuries. Big thing though is we do have auctions in the treasuries this week, so that's a little bit of supply. I think with the changes we should be okay there. The changes meaning like the issuance and all that sort of stuff. ES pushing higher in the overnight session. We are getting back now that Apple has reported. We are back into peak buyback season. So looks like equities on the upside. Here's oil. So you can see oil moving a little bit overnight over Israel Rafah headlines, but nothing too big. Nothing too big. Gold and silver also up a little bit. Kappa really starting to look good. That's like actually it's just 2 days. Two solid days in a row up action again. The Japanese yen, well, on Sunday, was that Sunday? Yeah. Oh, no, this was Friday. That little bump there was Friday. So it looks like the Japanese yen giving up some of its gains in the overnight session. And here you see the dollar though. Okay. I don't know. Dollar's still weaker. I mean, the non-farms was a bigger deal for the dollar. And then you got Bitcoin. Bitcoin pumping back up to 6,500 or so. They would really like to see Bitcoin a lot higher than it is, but 6,400, I guess we'll take it. All right. Again, good morning, Octavius, A. Paul, Uzi, Robert. You guys here bright and early. Let's spend a little bit extra time here this morning, make sure we understand what's going on with the situation in Israel. The European Commission approves the acquisition of sole control of the United States Steel Corporation of the U.S. by Nippon Steel Corporation of Japan. Good grief, that. I don't want to hear about that one. That one triggers me. Okay. UAE Foreign Minister warns of the danger of worsening situation in the Middle East and the escalation of tensions which threatens regional and international peace and security. The Palestinian presidency calls on the American administration to intervene immediately and prevent a massacre in Rafah. Dollar slammed. Well, it is looking a little weak early this morning, and the Japanese yen is on the upside. Like, it's hard to see on that volume profile chart that we were looking at here, right? Like, you see that little tiny little blip there at the end? Okay, but then when you come and you look at our like 5-minute charts right there, then it's like, oh, what's going on in the Japanese yen? What's that about? I'm terrible at circling things this morning. What's that? And the treasury's running up too. And I'm not seeing any like well, there's no economic numbers that I'm aware of. Well, so hold on. Do I have my news squawk? I'll double check that. I do not. Sometimes I forget to start that. We do have bill auctions today. Barkin and Williams speaking. Okay, let us come in and do a little bit of typing here in our text editor. We will move today to 0503 it was. Yes. What happened to 02? Did I not do 02? All right, well, whatever. Copy template. Rafah invasion imminent. 3 and 6 month bill auctions. Barkin and Williams late morning. And that's it, right? Let's make note that stock buybacks back in full force. Oh, I didn't change. I'm going to go move over to the right screen here. So we're writing things. Okay. So here's what I know. Apparently, all of last week, the Biden administration had been holding back on a weapons shipment to Israel in order to try and pressure Israel into making a deal with a ceasefire deal with Hamas. Now, the issue over the ceasefire deal with Hamas is that Hamas wants it to be an end to hostilities, and Israel is determined to remove Hamas from power and completely eliminate them. I don't know if you accomplished that with Rafah, but whatever. I mean, it's going to happen one way or another, but it's probably going to, in part, be like a long-term occupation of the Strip by Israel. Anyways, the administration kept telling Hamas, "Oh, the Israelis, they will agree to an end to hostilities," and Israel kept saying, "No, we won't. No, we won't. No, we won't." So Biden was trying to hold this shipment of weapons to try and coerce Israel into making a full deal, and Israel just was not going for it. So they tried to strong arm Israel, and it failed. And so now Israel, now that it's kind of out what has been going on, that's why I say it seems much more real now. Now Israel is kind of, like been leaking, letting everybody know what's going on to make it clear that they intend on finishing this. So I don't know how it goes, because I'm like, Rafah is where they sent all the refugees. So they're doing evacuations as we speak, as my understanding. Could be messy. You can see a lot of oh man. Well, I mean, first of all, I think that the the pictures that you're going to see coming out of Rafa are probably going to be awful, right? But then you know, all of the campus stuff going on, you're probably going to see a lot of screaming, a lot of crying about it. Although my understanding is the police came in and did something at Columbia College, didn't they? Because the New York mayor was saying, well, we got some information that, you know, some of this is being like pushed by terrorist organizations and so forth, and yada yada. But anyways, they broke that up. So let's see. Obsidian, if it... Oh, that was on Friday. Oh, that was on Sunday. I don't know what that's about, actually. I think that it's just that the 10-year auction is on Tuesday. Tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow, yeah. Carl Quintilla quotes Bank of America. Does sell in May work? A 6-month stretch from May to October known for weak SPX performance has been positive in 8 of the past 10 years from May to October with an average return of 4%. Well, I tell you what, if you are day trading, might make sense to go away from May to October. But if you're like swing trading or long-term trading, sell in May doesn't really make sense. Hamas official Rashid says any Israeli military operation in Rafah will put the negotiations in jeopardy. You think? Okay. That's got to be one of those like dumb headlines where like, you know, he was saying something that is not coming out in the headline. Did I already say hi to Bolo Effects? I see him coming over there. He just says a hi. Not a, do you remember me? I like it. Good morning. Welcome back. And thank you for coming here. Like what? 4-5 days in a row. We appreciate having you. So, over the weekend, I been working on a dog kennel, and I went and I got a track saw to cut some of the plywood for said dog kennel, and that left me with an extra little piece of plywood that just happened to fit almost perfectly, almost, not quite, but almost perfectly on the top of my rack over here. So I offloaded a few things on my desk onto the rack, like my Kleenexes. And now I have all of this extra room that I don't know what to do with. Maybe I should put the remotes up there too. I never use, like, this is a remote for the KVM switch. I don't really use the KVM switch right now. I've been using remote desktop. I'd like to go back to it, but I really got to get it working with, like, I need one that does the high refresh rate and all of that sort of stuff. And then here's one for the lights, but I never touch those. So I could put those over there. Put these headphones. Let's put the headphones, because I don't really touch these headphones that often. Those headphones are for, like, my phone. I use those with my phone. Put this battery up there, too. There. Now I really have room. I should get rid of this too. It doesn't really work very well anymore. These are cool. It's like a gyroscope. It kind of works your forearm, but it kind of has like an upper limit I should just get rid of it. Or give it to the kids. Now I really got all this room. I guess I can move the keyboard down. Not that that really does anything. That's in a space that I can't really reach anyways. More books for randomly showing off in conversation? Maybe. I've got that over there. I'll just leave that back there. That book should probably go on the desk. I got it for taking notes. Trades, quotes, and prices. Financial markets under the microscope. It's on its little shelf here. It's close enough. Should probably put those books back on the bookshelf, but whatever. Anytime the kids come in there, here, like the first thing they want to do is pull the books off. I don't get, but whatever. last night, because my my younger son, he keeps like falling asleep at around 7 o'clock, and then waking up when it's around bedtime. So like, then you will keep us up till late. And last night, I think that we were just able to be careful enough and everything that he didn't wake up. He did wake up like in the middle of the night, and I picked him up and brought him into the bed. Oh my gosh, his little body was like a furnace next to me. It was so hot. So my wife came back to bed. She took him back, and then it was okay. That was the first like really good night's rest, like 8 hours I've gotten it a long time. I can feel it because I did a lot of pull-ups on Saturday, and oh man, my here and here all sore. I'm feeling, it's still a little bit sore in places, but I'm feeling energized. Oh my gosh. Feels good. Anyways, I don't know why I was going into all of that. There was a point. There was a point in the conversation. I don't remember what it was I was talking about. I'm being a little bit ADHD. There was a point to that, but I forgot what it was. I think the point was I got a lot of sleep. You're taking a small long? Well, I guess my flows suggest long. Oh, except for, you know what else we need to put on our on here? Monday flows tend to be smaller. So that alone kind of has me in a kind of prone to not take a trade on Mondays. But my flows do say long. And you're getting an okay spot there at 109 even. Although it is one tick down from a pretty big liquidity hole at 0.00 So that concerns me because there's probably a bunch of people that were waiting to get fills at 109 even. And, they're getting filled. They often will plow through them. So let's see. But I think they're likely to still stay in this area. Still stuck on I don't remember where I was going with that. Oh, full line. Oh, so the other thing is I got this desk behind me because we replaced desk in my daughter's room. I think they want to give it to my my stepson's girlfriend. I don't really have any reason for it. I mean, at some point I do want to have a desk there, but only if like somebody was going to use it. Nobody going to use it. Get rid of it, right? Robinhood has received a Wells notice from the SEC. Oh boy. Where are you reading that? I don't see it on my Twitter. It looks like it's when I search for Google, I do find it though. He says on Twitter, who are you following on Twitter that I'm not following that's giving you that? I need to add them. Oh, do I not follow StockTwits? Hold on. No, I am following them. I guess it just went past my feed too quickly. Okay, well, here I have a story. As previously disclosed, Robinhood Crypto has received investigative subpoenas from the SEC regarding, among other topics, RHC's cryptocurrency listings, custody of cryptocurrencies, and platform operations. Oh, well. For cryptocurrency related stuff, not as interesting to me. Do you run your automated strategies now? Not really. There was one that we were like, we should run this. What did we have? Oh, it was the time stop and reverse. Oh, I have that one on. Is it not on? Except for that we figured out that one doesn't really work anyways, so. I've been on the automated stuff front. I've been spending more time, higher time frame. And what happened was when I started looking at things higher time frame, I was like, this is really encouraging. I need to run it across multiple assets now, which NinjaTrader isn't really very good at. So I'm going to go back, recreate them in Python and do all of that stuff. You know, I think we're a little bit more free there. So, you know, especially if the kids sleep at night. I think the whole point of that conversation earlier was that I got the child to sleep, so I'm sleeping better. Hopefully that results in freeing up some of my time and energy elsewhere, so we can get working on this. I did do a little bit of work this week on the other machine. Trying to figure out how to get it to like read my transcripts. I think it could be. I don't think that one will be too much work. I'm still worried about, will my Kubernetes cluster be able to access the graphics card resources? So we'll see. Well, they ticked 01. Oh, Netanyahu and Biden are going to be speaking later today about Rafah. I wonder how that one's going to go. I really don't see where Biden thinks this is going to go. It's really wild to me that he thinks he can strong arm them into letting Hamas off the hook. Can you imagine when the United States moved into Afghanistan after 9/11 and if leader of another country, let's say the Prime Minister of England, was trying to strong arm George Bush into pulling out of Afghanistan like that or something. Like, you think that there's anything that any world leader would have been able to say to George Bush to convince him not to go into Afghanistan? Like, it is wow. When you think about it, it's not like really a headline that I think a lot of people are paying attention to. Because it's pretty deep in the weeds of foreign policy and stuff like that. But to me, it seems like a really significant geopolitical development. One that could be very, very key to how Biden's administration is remembered. I don't think that it's going to be good for him, but who knows? Who knows? Maybe he actually does. Maybe something actually does happen, and like there's a success there that is attributed to Biden that helps him. I don't know. Honestly, though, have you seen these latest polling numbers coming out of Rasmussen? Like, Biden was even underwater amongst women. Okay, because women have been like some of the strongest Democrat supporters. I still wonder about that one. Is it really all just abortion? I'm not convinced that it's just abortion, but I digress. With polling numbers like that, I kind of feel like the Democrat Party has to replace him at the convention. Like, what other choice do they have? Like, they will lose with numbers like that. If we get to convention and Biden still has polling numbers like that, I think you have to replace him. That's like a Hail Mary that probably doesn't work out. But, like, I kind of feel like they would try. Which is weird because, like, replacing Biden at convention just sounds so crazy to me. It seems so unlikely. But I'm unsure whether polls accurately reflect or predict anything at this point. Well, so there are some problems with polls on the edges, right? So, like, when you get to the election, we've seen a lot of instances where, like for instance, last time around, it kind of suggested that Donald Trump was going to win, but then they didn't accurately reflect the turnout. Basically, the turnout from mail-in voting and all of that sort of stuff ended up being high enough to screw up the polling, right? But what we're talking about, the difference between Trump and Biden on like national polling and so forth, that's like a completely different issue. Like, that's a wide difference. That's a wide difference that the error of the polling and so forth, I don't think can make up for. I don't know how much the rules are different and how much Republicans will play the turnout game, whether or not they'll be effective. But if the election were held today, I think that Biden would probably get savaged. And it's bad enough that I think you're going to see some Democrats start to very, very seriously think about replacing him at convention. Now, in order to do that, they would have to convince Biden to step down, right? Like, it'd have to be like they get to convention and then Biden gets up and gives a speech and says, I know that y'all voted for me to be the nomination and everything, but my health has recently taken a turn for the worse. And I don't think that it would be good for me to run for president because of that. So you're going to have to pick somebody else, right? Like, that's how it would have to happen. Is that a hopium? I don't know if it's a hopium, man. Like, I'm kind of don't care because I'm not a Democrat, right? But I'm just looking at like incentives and things like that. If your candidate is polling that badly going into convention, that gives you a really, really strong incentive to pick somebody else at the convention. It's just that you can't do it unless Biden is a part of it, probably. I would think. Am I wrong? Or you're talking about that well, so now here's the other thing. Yeah, if the election was held today, I think that Biden would get destroyed. Problem. The election is not today. So what could happen between now and the election that could change things? I'm not sure. One could be that you get a different candidate. I don't know who you would get out of convention from the Democrat side that would really encourage people. But that's a possibility. You could have another pandemic of some sort. There is kind of this thing been going on with I think bird flu of some sort. I don't think that would be able to have the same kind of impact. It's kind of funny the way that the pandemic happened and everything, because I do kind of feel that it would not have turned into as big of a hysteria as it did if it was not for Trump's actions at the very beginning. Because he was there perhaps room to kind of have like lockdowns of sorts and it not be as big of a deal? Maybe, but I digress. So I'm just saying, if we have another pandemic, you could have a pandemic and like they just react a little bit differently. So it could still be like election affecting, but not like the end of the world like the pandemic kind of was. Like 2020 kind of was. There could be a major geopolitical development. Okay, so here's a major geopolitical development that could happen. What if tomorrow France put troops on the ground against Putin? Like what if NATO was dragged into a wider conflict in Ukraine? I think that might help Biden. Not that I think it would help Biden, like people would go, oh, okay, like we trust Biden more because of this thing or that thing or the other. But what it does is it creates such a narrative change in favor of the president that it would probably help his numbers. So something happening in Ukraine that could potentially shift the election back towards Biden and make it a closer contest where Biden wins out. Or maybe this thing with Israel, but I don't know, that seems to be working against him. I do kind of wonder, though. It seems to me that these protests on college campuses is like destroying the Democrat Party. Like, the Democrat Party as we knew it a year ago is dead, in my opinion. Because what has happened is a very large swath of the youth have kind of figured it out. is kind of what I think. And when I say figured it out, it's they realize that the Democrat Party does not really represent their interests very well and just uses them. They will talk the talk, but then when push comes to shove, they actually don't do any of the things that the youth wants. Now, the reason for that, in my opinion, is because the things that this radical group of youth want are crazy. These things are crazy, and nobody would be able to like push that stuff through and then like survive another election. Like, part of the reason why Biden is having so much trouble is because he shoved a lot of these things through, at least to the effect that he could, through executive actions, and it's not working very well. People do not feel very good about the economy because what it's doing is it's kind of moving all of the growth into government and it's squeezing the private sector. And then you have higher interest rates on top of all of that. You run into this kind of interesting situation where even though all of the economic numbers look okay and you are getting pretty okay economic growth, it doesn't feel like that to anybody because they're still being pressured by all of these financial pressures. It's in large part because of Biden's economic policies. Give you one example. Biden made a policy where basically the more money you put down on your mortgage, like the more money you put in your initial down payment on a mortgage, the higher your interest rate ends up being. They punish you for putting more equity into your house at the very beginning. Do you remember this? This was kind of like a rule change. Everybody was freaking out about it, and then it kind of went in and it's kind of been quiet. Well, it went in, and it's not good. So, because like the few people that can afford houses right now, they're basically like fleeced by the interest rate that they get because of it. So here's what they've been doing is they'll buy the house and like hardly put anything down. And then afterwards, there's all sorts of tricks and stuff so that you can spend that money and spend it down, but still have had the lower interest rate. So like basically, the policy has been completely ineffective, right? So the kids are looking at this, and then the Democrat Party isn't with them on this one crazy thing that they got where, largely it's supporting Israel and not the terrorists. But they're gone. I don't think that you're gonna see those kids turn out for anybody now. You know what? It happens to everybody in their youth. To some extent, I think happens to everybody in their youth, where you get really politically engaged and you feel like you're on the precipice of something and something's gonna change, and then one of two things happens. Either one, nothing changes and you become disillusioned because nothing changes. And maybe you find out why nothing changes and you kind of shift towards something a little bit more moderate. Or B, you get what you want and it ends up being a complete disaster. And you're kind of getting a little bit of both, right? Because they got what they wanted. They got Joe Biden, who does largely do a lot of the policies that they want, and they're not working out very well for them. But then nothing's changing on these other issues like Israel, which is kind of like the cause du jour. Is that, I don't know if I'm using the right language there, but I think something that people haven't understood about this equity movement sort of thing, like the woke movement in the US, because we've all made it all about, it's about race and it's about black people are historically disadvantaged in the United States and how can we bring equity in the United States. But I'm telling you, it was always about Palestine. This has always been in large part driven by the Palestinian cause. Like even going back to Occupy Wall Street, where I think a lot of these kind of ideas originated, there was a strong pro-Palestinian bent to it. So yeah, I don't think the youth's gonna turn out for him. And when I say the youth, I mean like anybody under the age of 35. So that's kind of a problem because that's the demographic that is pro-Democrat. So it's kind of a weird situation because I know better. Like everything right now, like practically everything that's going on right now is in favor of the Republicans. The only thing that's going on right now that's not really in favor of the Republicans is that it does sound like Majorine Taylor Greene is going to try and remove Speaker Johnson again. That's not good for Republicans. But pretty much everything else is just like hurting Biden right now. And I know better. Like I know that before the election, it always swings back the other way. There's always some sort of shift in the momentum and it swings back. I don't know where it's going to come from or why. Maybe something happens. I guess another thing that could kind of screw things up would be Donald Trump himself. Maybe Donald Trump himself does something that really convinces everybody that he is a dictator or what would we say, an authoritarian. That he's a true dyed-in-the-wool authoritarian and we can't allow him to be elected and yada yada. Then that could also kill Trump. Looks like they kind of fell back down here, but not on a lot of volume. It kind of happened kind of quickly on very little volume. So kind of looks to me like the market makers are kind of playing games. Nobody was taking the longs, so they flip it back the other way, and I'm glad to see that Octavius was able to scratch it. If the election were held today, we wouldn't know the results till November, and Biden would still see. We'll see. I'm super bothered by the, like, you don't know the results of the election that night. That's wrong. Yeah. I'm surprised that people put up with it. You know, it's frustrating because when you look at most things, nobody's really putting up with it, but they can't really do anything about it either. You know, like the public debt. This is probably the best example of this. I don't think that there's a person in the United States, except for maybe Joe Biden and his modern monetary theory economic advisors, that think, okay, whoa, hold the boat. So that was about 6,000 contracts just hit and took us down 3 ticks. That's curious. Iran lead nuclear negotiator meets IAEA chief Grassi, says ISNA. Hamas did not respond to an Egyptian invitation to come to Cairo tomorrow, reports the Wall Street Journal 7 minutes ago. I don't know about that one, but that was, you know, we had some movement down, and I'm like, okay, that looks like the market makers kind of injecting some randomness into the market, pulling their bids, seeing if they get anything out of that, and then this big order kind of hit them. Now, okay, so they do take 29 half offer again. Basically, it hit 30 half, 30, and 29 half. We'll see if they hit below that, and if there's real volume below it, because that could be kind of a precursor to something wider going on. But I think that what happened there was not all part of the game plan. I think somebody screwed up there. Of course, it could just be somebody stopping out.
Block sell.
Okay, there's another one. I think that kills that theory. There's something to this. I could potentially go with it, but my expectation is that the flows are going to be long. I don't know what's bringing those orders in, and it is a lot of volume. So we kind of run the risk of getting caught here if I take a trade. Omar asks, what is the best strategy for you? Well, first of all, you don't need to yell about it. The best strategy is to know what's going to happen. That's the best strategy. Know what's going to happen. So, like, if you know that the market is going to move up, then you should buy it. And if you know that the market is going to go down, then you should sell it. Insane clown trading. Oh, by the way, you know what this reminds me? This reminds me, by the way. We gotta check something. Do you guys remember? Was it Thursday, Friday? I was like, it's been a while. I bet you it's coming, and I bet you that there's gonna be a thread like, who is your favorite YouTuber? Well, there was one this weekend. Let's see here. Where was it? How far back do I need to go? What book, YouTuber, or person has helped you the most in your trading? 250 comments. Isn't that crazy? Wait, is that... Let's go back to the top here. Sort by... Oh, can I not change it anymore? I was gonna say, like, sort it by top, most controversial, like most comments. Okay, well, here's the top post this week, 197 comments. Okay, so I'm pretty, I can't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure that this is the most commented thread on Reddit this week. What book, YouTuber, or person has helped you the most in your trading? So I have to go in here and see if any of you guys have been breaking the first rule of Seth Club, right? Here, we'll do a quick Control F and search for my name. Well, there's my name up there, my user flare, but nope, nobody's mentioned me. Good job, guys. Good job. You're all keeping the first rule. Nobody mentioned me in the thread. Don't you dare go back into that thread and mention me now. That would be bad. It's a dead thread now. That would be brigading, so don't do that. Don't worry, you won't find me. Is that really all it is that my viewers just don't visit Reddit ever? You gotta scroll a bit to search in the whole thread. It could be that I'm all the way down at the bottom. If I keep scrolling. Nope. I'm definitely not in there. Because if I find a post like that, I'm gonna be like, nah, don't watch Seth. He is boring and doesn't really trade anyways. I have never even had a Reddit account. I've always hated you hated the very idea of it. That's curious. I just you know, if I'm looking for like news and things to read and discussions to read, I just can't think of anywhere better. I don't know. The lowest voted is ICT though. They figured it out, man. I feel so vindicated because when this first started back in like 2021 or whatever, and I saw that he was moving into futures, and I was like, you really like you know, don't let them get away with this. They're brigading, and everyone was like, oh, you're crazy, you know, right? And now everybody in the trading space knows and downvotes it. Meet Kevin. Oh, they downvoted Meet Kevin. Wait, why have people turned? Did something happen with Meet Kevin? Because the last time I remember, yeah, we should keep on here. They're still selling. I'm too scared to deal with it to do it. I don't know why they're selling. Highness President Xi says the three parties need to jointly oppose spillover and escalation of the fighting and create conditions for peace talks to safeguard international energy and food security and keep industrial supply chains stable. Oh, he's talking about Ukraine, though. China did not create the Ukraine crisis, nor is it a party to it. I don't know. Anyways, did something happen? Because the last thing I remember about Meet Kevin was him saying, well, I know that I say never like sell everything and get out of the market, but I sold everything and got out of the market. And that was back when like the S&P took a big hit, right? That was like that 10% decline or whatever in the S&P 500. Back in, was that like last October, I think? Yeah, I think it was like the beginning of last year. So did he get back in? Or like, why have people turned against him? I don't understand. Or is it just because he's too popular? I don't know. Here's another one, trades by Matt. He gets downvoted. Why would Iman get downvoted? I bet you one of the top comments is Iman, but you don't even know who Meet Kevin is? Dude, Meet Kevin is like probably at this point the top finance creator on YouTube. Like household name status. He's as big, if not bigger, than Graham Stephan at this point. Huge channel. So let's go and look. Let's go look for him. No, you know what? I don't want to do it on my, because then it will start showing me. So I'm going to do a private window. I'm doing it on a private window. Okay. What? It doesn't just recommend me videos if I don't have an account on YouTube anymore. Ah. Me, Kevin. 1.97 million subscribers? How much does Graham Stephan have? I don't know how to spell Graham. Oh, Graham is way bigger than me, Kevin. Wow, 4.72 versus 1.97. Okay. But yeah, that's him. I think that my background is better than his, but whatever. It's mostly because mine has an American flag. Iman, what does he do? Okay, so Iman, basically what Iman does is trash other gurus that are basically trying to scam people. He's to 151,000. I mean, he grew fast. Right, so when you come in and you look at his videos by the most popular, right? Oh, actually, his most popular ones are his in-depth guide. Okay, but like most of the videos that made him successful are like the one video to expose every trading guru, exposing ICT and his concepts once and for all. I exposed a guru so badly he changed his name. The Trading Geek is a fraud and I have proof. When it was this one, the Trading Geek, he had less subscribers than I did when I first picked it up. And I kind of helped him a little bit. Like I submitted some of his posts and stuff like that because I wanted kind of people to figure out what was going on with ICT and stuff like that. I am not particularly a fan of his trading because it is your typical price action nonsense. So I'm not saying that he's scamming people. I'm just saying he doesn't know what he doesn't know, right? But, people like him. So going back to this one, if I go back up to the top, I bet you that he's up there. Well, a lot of the people on this one are a lot of these people I don't know. Of course, in futures, we know Anthony. Anthony's great. Let's just search for Iman. Oh, there you go. Okay, there is one comment up there that's Iman that's reasonably upvoted. That was the whole thing, is I was kind of like confused that there was somebody just said Iman and they just downvoted it. Maybe because they thought it was low effort or something. It's kind of funny to see my name still doesn't even show up as funny. But I think that we're just too niche. Right? Like if I was doing stocks, maybe it'd be a different thing. Anyways, good job, guys. Keeping it a secret. Good job. Well, so remember that where we saw that first initial big order was at 30. And then we saw another big order at 29. That's at 5K. They have extended a little bit. A decent amount of volume is traded down in there. I am not seeing continued imbalance in market orders, though. Also, looks to me like the flow was more in the 30 and the 5, more so than it was the 10, which is kind of curious. Oh man, did you guys hear about Tom Brady's roast last night? Apparently, when Tom Belichick got up, he got so upset that he basically walked out on his roast. Because the whole thing is at the very end, then he gets to like roast everybody else, but he didn't do it. He just walked out. It was like he was so dramatic about it. And like hearing it, it's like, wow, they really roasted him. Like they brought up the whole, you know, he lost tons of money in the FTX scandal, and something about a massage apparently triggered him. I didn't hear anything about a massage. So the thing that I had heard that, or like Belichick was making fun of him, and Brady was like, I was managing the team. Like, you just did everything that I told you to do, sort of a thing. I wonder, you know, if I come to like political sites, will they? Because Tom Brady is enough out there that you would start to hear about it on political sites. Nope. Maybe later today. Sort by pop in the past 24 hours. The roast of Tom Brady discussion thread. The NFL spent $20 million and found that it was more probable than not that I was generally aware that someone may have deflated my footballs. You could have just given me the $20 million and I would have told you why I effing did it. Wow. Okay. If you get a chance to go 8 and 9 and all it costs you is your wife and kids, you got to do what you got to do. That is too far. Oh my gosh. You know what? I can't see myself doing a roast like that. Like, I don't think that I have anything that you know, that I'm not going to say awful. This is, listen, things happen to you, but you know, I don't think that I have any kind of that much deadly ammunition to use against me. And I think that I'm generally thick-skinned, although I'm not really tested very often, so I don't know about that one. But it just seems like all risk and no reward, you know? Like, I'm not sure I see the benefit to yourself doing a roast. Must have been a good massage. Wedding rings come and go, Super Bowl rings are forever. My gosh. Tom Brady is going to use this roast as motivation to come back and win another Super Bowl. Oh. That's interesting, because when I'm searching for it on Reddit, there's the NFL thread about it, and then like all of the other top posts about it are that Kim Kardashian was food. Maybe it wasn't as big of a deal as TikTok made it out to be. I don't know. I was seeing this thing the other day. Oh, that was on TikTok and I haven't seen anything else about it. So maybe it's not true. There was this whole thing about like Kim Kardashian was like blackmailing people and stuff. Yeah, I don't get anything like if I search for news and stuff. Because like when I heard that, I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense now why they're so famous. Without having seemingly done anything to deserve that kind of thing. Man, it's still going. That was another 2 ticks there. Uh-oh. I'm hearing on the news squawk now that because Ukraine has attacked Russia with British weapons, that Russia may decide to target British targets within Ukraine. That's just threatening. That may not be a thing, but that sounds like if that happened, that would be really bad, right? I think that would be really bad. Heard over the weekend that France sent troops there. Dude, have you heard what Macron has been like talking? Like this one is really weird. But Macron has been the one that's been saying we cannot allow Ukraine to fall. We should be getting involved and stepping in if we have to. Yeah, like Macron and France is the one being the war hawk, while Germany is kind of sitting here like, well, I don't know if we can really do anything. Like, that is just like such bizarro world, right? It is the French that are the war hawks now. Like, what? That's so crazy. And I'm kind of sitting over here like, I don't know. It seems to me. Okay, well, first of all, like Ukraine is losing bad right now. Okay, like their front lines are falling apart and it's not looking good. Granted, they're kind of fighting over those breakaway obelisks or whatever they call them, right? My point of contention has always been, I don't think that Russia can actually take over Kiev. And it also seems to me like that Russia should take over those spots and then just kind of like sit on it, right? But, you know, if Russia were to continue and start pushing to take over Kiev, I think that that would be extremely bad for the Western world. And I don't think that we should allow that. And so I'm not necessarily saying I'm going to support or not support action or anything, because I don't know enough about the situation to say that sort of a thing. But I do think that if it started to come to that then you would potentially, that it's more probable that you would, or more possible, let's say, that you could see the West step in and it turn into a larger conflict. Russia's been messing up with the radio signals for airplanes around Europe lately. Ukrainian refugee and his wife got arrested, and my Illinois tiny was smuggling guns. Even had buyers from Georgia driving all the way to Illinois to buy his gun. He had 3D printer making parts for said guns, making them. Oh, jeez. Well, anyways, there's a possibility of that thing getting worse. Here. For sure. I hope that it doesn't, but it seems like a possibility. But I'm not sure that that could explain why they're selling this so hard. I am seeing the Japanese yen seems to be coming along with it. Yeah, this whole downside has been correlated with a drop in the yen and a rise in the dollar. But it can't be a flight to safety. If it was like the dollar up and treasuries up, then that would be flight to safety flows. I'm not seeing that. So it could be currency flows, except for that we are seeing a decent amount of volume accompanying it in the treasuries. It's not super crazy. It's not like what I would normally expect for a strong trend down. But that's probably because it's a Monday. So I'm still unsure what's creating this flow to the downside. Oh, there you go, Uzi. They must be listening to our stream because I just heard over the news squawk that France denies sending troops to Ukraine, and says that that's all Russian propaganda. Have you, Uzi? Have you been reading Russian propaganda again? Tisk 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 tisk. Have I? I don't know. Where did you catch the story that France had said those? You just read those tweets. Okay. All Russia messing with radio signals isn't surprising at all. I want to remember the Russian would. Actually, I don't. But do you guys remember when the Russians shot down that passenger plane? Mm-hmm. It looks like 26 is the place. Liquidity hole at 26. My lips and mouth feel really dry this morning, which is kind of weird considering how much rain we got yesterday. So like when we get out of church yesterday, so I have early morning church. So from like 9 to 11 is church for me, which sucks, but that's it. The schedule changes for Mormon churches. The schedule changes every year. And this year we get the 9 o'clock. We get out of church and it was raining hard. Like, it doesn't rain like that in Utah. It was like, you know, walking from the door of the church to your car and you were half wet, you know. It just like big wet raindrops, you know. It just doesn't rain like that in Utah. I'm like, okay, well, but you know, it's spring, that's good. We get some rain and everything, right? Day goes on. Sometime after lunch, I look outside and it's freaking snowing, like full on blizzard outside. huge snowflakes. It left like maybe 1 or 2 inches on. It's still out there. It didn't melt. It's still out there. It snows in Utah in May. Okay, it's not uncommon to get snow in May. In fact, the day I was born, May 31st, 1985, it snowed that morning. Okay, so it's not even like climate change or anything. Okay, it's always been like that. But like those kinds of flakes and like in the afternoon, that's so weird. I wish I understood why you get snow in those conditions, because there was times earlier in the year when I would have liked to have had the snow and it just rained and we're like, oh, what's true and what isn't really doesn't matter anymore. I still care. I still care what's true, Uzi. Yeah, there is something too that like yeah, what's true and what's not doesn't matter as much as like what people end up believing to some extent. Yeah. Truth is just ammunition for online. Beyond that, it's irrelevant. Well, I tell you what, it's really wild to me. Some of the kind of like disinformation stuff that I see out there. Like some of the disinformation that I see about Israel is just absolutely wild. Like things that are just like so demonstrably untrue. I wish I could come up with some examples. I saw a post yesterday, but I don't remember the specific issues that I was taking with it. But they were like making very specific claims that I'm like, no, that's not true. That's not true. It's just like it's crazy how this kind of spreads. I don't know. It's the internet, man. Like the internet, the internet has evolved into is not good. And there were times when the internet was better. I've been alive for 42 years, and Ukraine just became the linchpin of Western liberal democracies one morning. Well, okay. I think that all of the Eastern Bloc countries that have been allied with NATO have been the linchpin. If something was happening in any of those countries, it would be a big deal. And Russia is only able to mess with Ukraine because Ukraine moving over to the Western Bloc is so recent, right? It happened during Obama's term. That's how it became the linchpin. But I think it's still more largely the Russia expanding into any of those Eastern Bloc countries is like a absolutely not okay sort of a thing. Yeah, the only thing that does make sense is Israel and Palestine. I think so. Like, I think part of the problem with like the misunderstanding or like miscommunication with people, or even just the disagreements in general with people between Israel and Palestine, is that I really don't think that they can have peace. There cannot be peace between Israel and Hamas, at least. Maybe, perhaps, there can be peace between Israel and the Palestinian people, but it will probably take a lot of work and education and things like that, and I just don't see how you pull that off. Like, it like, when you get two groups that are, like, dedicated to the destruction of the other, like, I don't see how it ends any way other than one of those groups being destroyed, you know? Because if you come in and you negotiate a peace, and the Palestinians keep hating the Israelis, then you just create, it's just going to happen again in 10 years, right? Pakistan and India look pretty calm lately. Well, I don't know if they're quite that same level of like dedicated to the destruction of the other and stuff like that, right? I don't know, but they've got nuclear weapons that kind of chilled them out, didn't it? Isn't that funny? Turned atheist liberal college students into praying Muslims, suddenly plunged conservatives into social justice and identity politics. It's amazing. No, listen, I'm telling you, Uzi. Well, we already talked about this, but I'm telling you, it's not real. Like, and by not real, I mean like the protests. It is a small group of people that are supported by various radical organizations, some very much funded and pushed by like right up terrorists, or at least we're starting to think that. It is not, most Americans don't agree with it. Like, so there was this whole thing at Ole Miss, right? You've probably seen the videos of that one. It was Ole Miss, and like there was the Hamas demonstrators, and so like all of the frat boys and everything came out and overwhelmed the Hamas protesters and like put up an American flag. And when I say overwhelmed, just like drowned them out with their singing and chants and stuff like that, and just made a complete joke of the Hamas protesters. Okay, well, that is in a Southern university, a conservative area. That's kind of different, right? Okay, but look at what happened in LA. Okay, the Jewish kids at the school heard that a girl was put in the hospital, and that there was a guy that was being prevented from being able to leave the encampment. They were trapping him in there and preventing him from leaving. And all of the other things they were hearing about, the way that Jews were being treated on campus, that the Jewish kids and their friends got together and came up with a group of people just as big as the protesters and started a skirmish. Okay, so basically everywhere you go, you're seeing that the anti-Palestinians, like pro-Zionist side, is able to gather up enough people to be bigger than the protesters completely spontaneously. How is that? I'll tell you why. That's because most Americans do not agree with these radical pro-Hamas protesters. And you go and look at the polling. It's like 70%. Like 70% of people agree with even some of the most let's call it radical. Some of the most radical pro-Israeli things. That Hamas should be completely eliminated, for instance. Like a vast majority of people agree with that. So what you're seeing on the campuses, it really is all theater. It's a very small group of people that have been trained how to act and everything to get the media's attention, and then the media gives it a ton of attention to try and create like a larger movement. But the reality is most people don't agree with it. The only people that are in on that are the very far left, college age kids, like 20-year-olds. So basically the Democrat base, the group of people that they've kind of been relying on for like the future of their party and everything, just kind of left the party. And but otherwise everybody supports Israel. I remember when pointing out the 2020 riots were funded by Soros was an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory, and now everyone is reporting on Soros. Yeah, it is. It's true. I'd have to say, I do kind of feel that the 2020 protests were much wider. The polling was much different, so, but still, would not have been able to happen without funding from a number of groups, not just George Soros. Yeah, absolutely. This has been their modus operandi or whatever for a long time. They learned it from the Palestinians. If you notice, okay, like when you're watching the news or Twitter clips or whatever, and like the police are like picking somebody up and hauling them off to arrest them or things like that, right? And there's always some woman screaming at the top of her lungs, like really guttural scream. You can kind of hear the vibration in there, like they're really experiencing oppression and suffering. It's all an act, guys. You sit down and you're like, what kind of like deranged mental state are you in to be acting like that? I'll tell you what it is. It's acting. They teach the protesters to make it to be as histrionic as possible, because they know that when you see it on television, that there's a certain group of people that will say, well, if people are screaming like that, something bad must be happening to them. It's all an act. And the Palestinians have been very, very good at this. Right? The whole thing is they will put weapons and everything in civilian areas, start attacking Israel from it. Israel has no choice but to fight back or just, continue to be killed. And then when they fight back, look at how much, Israel is hurting us and all of these sorts of things. Like it's all set up to look like as bad as possible for them. And yes, there is acting over there too. And then Hamas comes and says, oh, like 10,000 people died or whatever. Those like numbers that are absolutely ridiculous. They've been teaching them this since the Occupy Wall Street was with the first one, where these liberal activists, they kind of like, here's all of our ideas, yada, yada, yada. This is the culture we're going to create. They taught it to people at Occupy Wall Street. And then all of the protests that you've seen since then have been using the same kind of tactics, right? And one of them is like the screaming. That's why every video that you see there's always some woman screaming in the background. Like they specifically teach the women to scream in those situations. If somebody's being arrested, scream so that it seems unjust for the television cameras. Which goes right back to what you were saying earlier, Uzi, about like the truth doesn't necessarily matter as much as like what people end up believing or the dominant narrative that comes out. And what's happened now, I think, is that everybody's kind of figured out that that's what's going on. I think that we've been trying to tell them this for a long, long time, and now with this Hamas protests, you know, when it deals with the Jews, now we're willing to actually look and realize what's happening. Yeah, it's not everybody. You're right. It's not everybody, but I see much more awareness. Like the media is actually talking about it. I'm seeing people on the Democrat side starting to see it. Definitely a shift. It's definitely a shift. Yeah, uninitiated normies who watch 20 minutes of news. Well, like the crazy thing about it, Uzi, is that it used to be like my parents. Okay, I would consider my parents in general to be like your normies, right? Like the typical boomer thing to do was watch the 5 o'clock news, because that was like the news was on at 5 o'clock because that was like when the most people watched television. So yeah, your parents loved to watch the 5 o'clock news. Okay, they were not, you know, in the know about all of the teeny tiny little political things that are going on and everything else. But basically, what they got was they got whatever narrative the local news was giving them, and then a really, really brief national news sort of, you know, sparkling of what's going on, which was always kind of a little biased, right? Now we don't even have that. Now people don't watch the 5 o'clock news. Now people just read what they see on Facebook. Like seriously, like that's social media or TikTok. That's where a lot of people are getting their news. That's where like Gen Z and Gen Alpha are getting their news, is from TikTok. And you've been seeing people talk about this, like why did the TikTok ban come through so quickly and so forth, and I don't exactly know what's going on, but it really seems to me like there was this sort of like, hey, the Chinese are pushing the pro-Palestinian side, and they're doing it and they're using TikTok to do it, and it's become a really powerful thing, and it's affecting the kids in a way that's not good, and that's, you know, that's too much power in our country to allow the Chinese to have. So it came through real quick. Man, it's crazy. I mean, I think the thing is that in the 80s and 90s, it was really hard to be politically educated. Unless you were like involved in politics and you were talking to politicians and stuff like that, because the information just wasn't on the news. It wasn't until, I would say, 2004, wasn't until McCain versus Barack Obama that the political blogs really came to prominence, and the Americans gained the ability to kind of have the same kind of knowledge as the political insiders, and then the rise of the right-wing news sources in 2016, when Donald Trump ran the first time, that you know, you started to get the right-wing side of things and kind of break up the liberal like dominance of the news cycle. So it's completely wild probably to a lot of you, because I think that by and large my viewers tend to be pretty politically knowledgeable about what's going on, because we kind of have to be for trading and stuff like that, right? I don't think we can even fathom how uneducated a lot of people are on the politics. That's something that humans are not necessarily very good at, is knowing what other people know. Yeah, now anybody can be informed by looking at their phones. Yeah, but suffer that they don't. They just look at Facebook, and the information that they get from Facebook is like not very good, right? They will just read headlines and they don't understand, right? And so all of this stuff now has basically been optimized and geared towards playing to that highly unengaged, uneducated group of people that are just seeing clips and passing on YouTube. And they don't ever dive deeper into it. And so that's why they're teaching all of the activists to act, essentially. Seriously. I think there's an advantage if you're going to get news from social media in picking the least censorious platform possible. Well, does that really exist, though? Does that really exist, though? Yeah. I mean, supposedly it's supposed to be Twitter, but and I suppose it could be Twitter, but it seems to me like that Twitter is dying, and that enough people have kind of, left that platform that it's not really able to pick up that position the way that you would want. Well, okay, that might be true. If you read a story on Twitter, there's going to be left and right wingers fighting in the thread. That's probably largely true. I think so. Looks like the treasuries are starting to head down for another leg here after it being only 30 minutes. The Japanese yen still looks pressured. But the dollar is not moving in that same direction. Seeing a little bit of a bid in oil. Well, I tell you what, we definitely missed a trade to the downside. I think that if I had, when that big order came through, I could have taken 28 to 26. So I probably could have made enough to be happy with it for a Monday. It's just didn't line up with what I was looking for, because I was looking for long. From here now, is it worth taking another shot? Maybe. Still got an hour left. But I still don't feel confident about it, because I just can't sort out what may be causing the selling. Maybe they have to sell for the auction? I don't know. I guess we'll see. Not that, I mean, there's bill auctions today. That shouldn't be a big deal. But tomorrow, 10-year auction. They be hedging and stuff today. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know. It's all something about it seems amiss. Yeah, I was gonna say, the cost basis. If we were to revert back, you'd come to the 29 area, which was kind of like the what we would call it, scene of the crime per se. Right? But for the moment, it's kind of acting like they're ready, that this is a large meta order with multiple legs, and that they're going for the next leg. I guess we'll see if it kind of breaks further or not. I remember when news sites started removing comment sections, and it correlates with political discourse going to crap. But you know what? I don't think that they removed those because you were getting too much conversation and yada, yada, yada. I think that a lot of them removed it because they simply lacked the ability to moderate it. And this seems to be like the larger social media problem, is that like if you're going to be a public company like Facebook, you do have to moderate your comments, and that ends up being a huge cost that they cut corners on. So they have to spend all this money on moderation, but then any moderation that they do ends up sucking, right? Like I really feel that in order to effectively moderate a community, that some degree of understanding and familiarity with the people in question is necessary, right? And so when you turn it into this just endless crowd of you don't know anybody, then you're never going to be able to moderate and provide a space that people like. That's why, like on Reddit, if you go to the most popular subreddits, your experience is going to suck. But if there are some niche subreddits where you recognize the names and it's like the same group of people posting, then it's a different thing. So I give you an example, some subreddit drama that's been going on that's actually super crazy. You're not hearing about it, but you probably should. Okay, so there is a subreddit called r/nuclear power, and this is a subreddit where like people in the nuclear industry that work in reactors like frequent and will post about and so forth. Okay, and somehow a group of anti-nuclear activists basically took the subreddit over and became the moderators on the subreddit and started deleting pro-nuclear content, saying that it was disinformation and so forth. So the people that took it over were like the moderators for this other subreddit. I forget what was the other subreddit called? Uninsurable. It's called r/uninsurable. And r/uninsurable, basically they say nuclear power is too expensive and you can't insure it because a nuclear disaster is like too impossible to insure. That's why they call it uninsurable, right? So how does uninsurable take over the nuclear power subreddit, right? And then start squelching people. So now there's another subreddit called r/nuclear that is more explicitly pro-nuclear, and they're like pushing back against the anti-nuclear moderating, and now there's like these two subreddits are like arguing with each other and stuff, right? But the people trying to take over the nuclear power subreddit aren't really having a very easy time with it, because all of the people that post on the nuclear power subreddit like know each other and like recognize the names, and these are all people that are like in the nuclear industry and can write like pages and pages of stuff about like debunking any one particular point that you come in with. So it's just like drama. Oh my gosh, it's the juiciest kind of drama, but it's also kind of frustrating if you're pro-nuclear, right? But I think that's where the internet went wrong. Where the internet went wrong was that we became too enamored with hyper-virality, and everybody went towards trying to create that viral moment because that could bring you fame and riches. And what we lost was the communities, the places online where you actually felt like you belonged and you knew who you were talking to. And you know, because when I was a kid, I had that one website that I would visit every day, and I knew all of the posters there. And we'd always joke that it's like as actually the same two people just posting with each other with multiple accounts, you know. That was always the joke, right? But you knew who they were. And we killed that. After Facebook, like we slowly killed it because we wanted to be viral. And so that comes back to so why does that happen? Because I think to really effectively moderate a community, you have to know the people there, right? If I come in and I have a community of like, 200 or so, relatively active posters that are posting every day, like that's a good community and you got something that's going, and then you know who those people are. So if somebody comes in and starts something, you know that what their history is and all of the context, and so you can make decisions that are more fair and play to the needs of all of the different people. And you can come in and say, well, this person they've never posted before, so this is certainly spam, right? You didn't have the same kinds of spam content problems or just people infiltrating and trying to undermine the conversation, because if one person comes in and starts posting BS, like everybody knows, oh, they tend to post that stuff, and it discredits them, right? We need to move back to small communities. We need to have a social media website that caters to small communities. Like if I made my social media network, it would be centered around groups, and you could only have 300 people in a group max. You could have like groups of groups. So like, let's say, there's a group and their interest is woodworking, for instance. So then there could be like the Utah woodworking people, and that group is allowed to be 300 people. And if that group grows too big, then it has to be subdivided down, right? So now it's like the Salt Lake and the Provo woodworking, and that they have to separate it out like that. But then there's all still part of like a nation group too, where you can post and look at things like that. Something along those lines. And there are things that maybe you can post at this base level that you can't necessarily, or maybe in order for it to go to the nation group, it has to like make it out of your base group first. That's how I would do it. And then I would have like a community structure. Like you cannot create a community by yourself. There has to be like minimum 3 people to create it. You have to make certain rules and certain things required for you. And then you can have all these sorts of things. Like I do like that Facebook has like a social media court sort of a thing where you can like appeal these decisions all the way to the top and so forth. Makes me sad. The constant discourse against nuclear power makes me sad to know that there are still so many dumb people. Yeah, it really is. It really is crazy. Well, the saddest thing about it is that if we had continued to develop nuclear power, we would have the technology at this point. All of the problems that we have with nuclear power, like it's too expensive and it's unsafe and things like that. Like we're already kind of solving those problems anyways. We definitely would have solved them if we had continued to put the research into it. So that's the saddest part of it is how we've been set back like 50 years. Any energy problems that we have today would already be solved. Like one of the issues, electric vehicles, right? But like, how do you charge all of these electric vehicles, and where is the energy to charging them come from? And they're not actually carbon neutral, because if your power plant is a coal-fired power plant, then you're really actually just powering it with coal, so it's not renewable, right? That wouldn't be a problem anymore because we would be getting so much power from nuclear. Very sad. If we get a VPOC shift at 26.5, then the play is long to the seller's cost basis. That's what you've been playing it. Well, where is the point of control? 43.85. So they're close. Probably will. Point of control probably will become 26.5. Because if it comes back at all, they're going to trade enough at 26.5 to make it point of control. But what I'm seeing is a real liquidity hole at 26 that seems to be persisting. Like, it looked like they were going for a little bit lower, but they didn't. So this is starting to look like a double distribution to me. Nothing was going on, then somebody sold it, and then it's just stayed down here after they sold it. We could still see a second leg. I don't think that I'm completely give up on a second leg until like 7:50 or 8:15. But I'd say it's most likely that there's not a second leg now at this point. I think my idea about like a social media network like that, where groups are limited to 300 people, is great, except for I think it's missing the killer feature. Like I think the killer feature needs to be some sort of thing, collaboration that you can do in that group that makes it really fun. Like maybe it's some sort of a game that you can play with those 300. Something like that. We need to be like some sort of a game where you can still post about like the subject, but then it's also gamified. Like, what if it was like when you post something and other people like it, it gives resources for your community that your community can then use to build something. Maybe it's like a Farmville sort of a thing. I don't know. TheEconomist.com, why you should never retire. Well, you should retire, and you do kind of have to like declare your retirement so you can start pulling out of your 401ks and everything. But then, yes, go and still have a job. I think so. Yes. Or spend time with the grandkids. Huh? I think that I'm probably not the only millennial that could use some, babysitters. Thick MBO bids. You talking about all of the 5Ks below us? How long has it been like that? I don't actually see anything. Yeah, I haven't seen any big stacks or anything. I do not know what indicator is drawing that. I forget. I need to look that up. That's something where I think I wrote a thing. I was like, I don't think this should ever happen, but I will print it out when it does. And it is happening. I need to look that up. It's probably just put on the chart wrong. You say the bids are 11K more than the offers? I'd have to. Are you using one of my indicators to see that? I don't have them on. This is like one of the sad things is that I found those really, really interesting. And like a situation like that where like the bids are 11K more than the offers, there does seem to be some sort of a hidden Markov model system behind it, where you can kind of have a pretty good setup of saying, you should favor longs or shorts or whatever the deal is, right? But I just don't have enough bandwidth for it, Charts, too many things on the chart already. Yeah, the 10 inside levels. Gotcha. That actually is a little curious, but it's got to be because of all those 5Ks below us, right? I don't know if they've like rolled the liquidity out in front of them and that's why it's all kind of sitting up there, or if this is a little bit lower because, but you know what? I think that probably what's going on here is that, again, we do have auctions this week. So probably there are people that maybe they're not even executing today, but they plan on being active all week. And so they're providing more liquidity to the market than usual because of the auction. That's what I'm going to say, is that because it's an auction week, liquidity is a little thicker by about 1,000 to 2,000 contracts per level. Like last week, it was mostly like 3,000s at every level, and now you're seeing a lot of 4s and 5s. But then that kind of begs the question, why are they all on the bid? ZN's the only one to not shift down. Well, if they clear 26.5, it'll shift. But didn't we wasn't the read here that when the VPOC shifts, that means they're likely to continue? Well, I don't know. It's taken so long, so maybe that one doesn't count, huh? I do see market orders coming into ZB. Not the other ones, but into ZB, yes. I'm not really, I don't know. The spread is a little bit tight today. Hard for me to read the spread today. House Speaker Mike Johnson will meet privately with Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene at 3:30 p.m. today, as she has vowed to trigger a motion to oust him this week. The timing for when she will trigger the motion is still unclear. Oh, you're referring to my market imbalance. Well, but I never read anything into it until it was like at 20 or 80. I never tested, above 50, below 50. And remember that the testing was a little bit like, yeah. Like if it's just kind of at 50, that to me is kind of like, I don't know if I want to trade. I guess you could say at the very least, it would need to be like 40, 60 before I would read too much into it. Like 55 to 60 is like a moderate imbalance. In big trends, though, you will see it go to like the 2080. Yeah. Oh, you got the VPOC shift? Oh, it didn't do it on mine. Oh, it did it. It did it to the 26 instead. That's funny. By the way, did you guys watch the horse race? I saw this TikTok this morning that was like, are we in District 1? Like from gosh, what is that show called? Oh my gosh. The Hunger Games. That's right. The Hunger Games. It's this TikTok like, are we in District 1? And it showed all of the people at the horse race with like the super crazy hats and stuff like that. I thought that was so funny. Because when we did the Ninja Trader thing on Friday, when we were on their stream, you know, the last thing was they asked if I was going to see the horse race this weekend or anything like that, and I was like, well, like, we don't really have a horse track in Utah, so it's kind of hard to get into horse racing. And you know, I didn't think anything of it at the time, but then afterwards I was like, oh, but I should know more about the horse race though. Like that's the thing. If I'm, you know, the rich people thing is the horse races. And I did watch the horse race, like on TikTok, and it was a good one. It was really close. It was really, really close. It was a good race. The races as of late have been really good. But I you know, I had this whole thing that earlier it was like, oh, I should get into horse races and whatnot. But then like this year I just completely forgot about it. Social media didn't. I followed the horse rating subreddit. Reddit didn't show it to me. So whatever. I bet you there was a horse racing subreddit and it got banned because all of the moderators were locking them back when that was happening, and haven't found the new one yet or something like that. So here, we should leave a note in Discord here. Curious to me, by the way, you know, I kind of missed when Uzi was saying there's like market order imbalances. It sounds like he has them on all three instruments, and that he was seeing that imbalance across the curve. So that is maybe more significant. All four. I don't think I've ever tested like cross complex sort of a thing. Like when I'm seeing it in the 5-year and the 10-year and the 30-year and maybe even the 2-year, then I take the trade and see how, if that does better, might be worth a try. Except for that I'm only saving data for the 10 years, so I wouldn't be able to backtest that one very well. ZT is below 50 though. And I'm not really seeing anything like movement-wise in the spread. I don't know. So one thing I would note is that the Japanese yen pulled back a little bit, but the treasuries have just stayed down here in the doldrums. So I'm still stuck at what drove the sell. Was it just one guy puking? Maybe. It is entirely possible that whole thing was just one guy that kind of went too far outside of the range, and so he decided to take the loss, and he had so much on that it pushed it down there, you know? Because there's no news or anything. It's not in line with any of the flows that I have listed, so I'm not in the know today. I'm not sure what to make of it, but I think that that's kind of partly because I don't know if it matters. Oh, you know what else we have to talk about? Not that we have to talk about it, but the big thing that's going on today, like the big news story, is that Sony has admitted defeat in the Helldivers 2 controversy. So there's a controversy that they were going to require all Helldiver 2 accounts to create a Sony PlayStation account. And if you don't do that by the 30th, you'll lose access to the game. And people were really upset about that, especially because there was some regions where you can't sign up for a PlayStation account, and then they lose access to the game when they paid for the game. So that some people were saying that's fraud. And they were review bombing the thing. Like, it had one of the highest on Steam. It had one of the highest favorability ratings, and it turned into one of the worst favorability ratings. Everybody came in and changed their review of the game to bad. And there was this whole drama over the weekend and everything, and Sony gave in. I'm actually really surprised. But Sony, the community won on that one. So that's kind of an interesting... That's going to probably have some reverberation effects across the industry, I think. I think the market order imbalance, like Delta, needs to be measured against its impact on price. So you're saying I want to look at what the market order imbalance has been over the last 10 minutes and adjust it with the number of ticks. But I don't think that you would want to be divided by the number of ticks up or down that we've had, because that might not make sense. So I'm not quite sure how you would. I think you would want it to be like, if there's an imbalance long and it's resulted in movement long, you should get a higher number than if you've had a market imbalance long, but we moved down. Well, like if you have, let's say, 100% of orders being market buy orders and the price just sits there, that's not meaningful. Well, it is. I just don't know how you would. It's a complicated thing, right? Because you have 4 different cases, right? It could, well, more than 4, but you could say you have really strong imbalance long and it moves long, so they're correlated. That's one thing. You have an imbalance long and it goes down, so they're anti-correlated. And then you have the same 2 cases on the downside, right? That they're both correlated down. I guess this one is, well, this is kind of the opposite. This is like that, but, you know. Contributory to content. I mean, context. I mean, yeah. But when I was making automated strategies out of these sorts of things. One was just looking for those imbalances. So basically, because I think that it comes with an 80-20 line, right? So I would have, here's the middle and here's the 80-20 line, and most of the time it's like this, and then if it got to there, then I would take a short. If it got down to here, I would take a long, right? But then the other thing that I would have on there is I would have like just cumulative delta, for instance. And I would look for autocorrelation and cumulative delta. So I would run R squared on cumulative delta. And then I would run correlation between price and cumulative delta, right? So like if cumulative delta and price are not strongly positively correlated, then I wouldn't take a trade. And that was a filter on top of it. Makes sense? So that's how I was doing, is I was using it as a filter. So how would you use that to like contribute to the number that you get out? I'm not sure, because if you just do a divided by, then that just means that like the more it's moving, the lower the number ends up being, right? So that one makes sense. So you could maybe take the delta times the net movement over the period or something like that. So every tick that it moves in favor, you, right? But I think that it would be better that you just have other things up that kind of express to you how far it's moved in that time period, and right, and sort it out yourself, because it's too complicated. Or, you know, I think that you're probably losing too much information when you try and digest it down into one number, right? Yeah, I'll throw, and then maybe something like, I don't know. Here's the thing that you're gonna find with it, right? It gives good signals. Like, let's see here. I don't know, maybe you can post a picture of what you've had this morning. And maybe we'll see some of them. You'll find that when you get like to that 80-20 zone, that there is a very high probability of a short-term pullback. But the problem is that the pullback might be like 1 or 2 ticks. And then when it's a trend, you just get slaughtered, right? So like, it seems like with the right filtering that it could do really, really well. But when I was just using a moving average, that wasn't good enough of a filter. So that's where, again, it's like, well, if you had a hidden Markov system, so if you had a hidden Markov system that says, are we trending up, are we trending down, or are we in more of a balanced market? And most of the time we're in a balanced market. And you would have to have some way of expressing that we were in a balanced market in the past for the Markov system to work with, right? But if you combine that then with that signal, maybe that would work. That's kind of the theory. And it was like, well, our data's not good enough to backtest it, so save the data. Have enough data. Have a year's worth of data now. I just need to do that one, I guess. One of the problems is that I'll only have enough data. Like, maybe I can, like, train it on 6 months of data and then test it on the other 6 months of data, because I think I only have, like, 8 years. Maybe I have 2 years. Maybe it's been that long. I don't know. anti-Israel protests happening outside of Auschwitz. My goodness. Like, I keep seeing this over and over again, where it's like, how are they not aware of the irony? This is like the fifth thing I've seen about this. Probably the second. We definitely talked about this last week, right? It's like how. So let's say it's the second time now where we're like, how do these anti-Israel protesters not see the irony? Oh, it was when they were setting up checkpoints inside of their camp. Like, there was all these checkpoints and you weren't allowed to go in and out without going through their checkpoints. Yes, that's what it was. How do you not see the irony in that? So one of the things that I'm seeing a lot of stuff on Twitter about is this rap diss battle thing that's going on, and like I don't care at all, so I kind of find those stories really annoying. Breaking: Israel War Cabinet approves Rafah invasion. Well, I kind of assumed on that one. Well, I would have thought that I would hear that. Apparently David Solomon is on CNBC right now. It was the tab had crashed on me. I went back to the news clock and reset it, and it was fine now. I don't know if that's ever happened to me before. You know what? I am not seeing that story. William Shatner is tweeting a lot this morning for some reason. Palestinian Authority is holding intensive calls with regional and international parties, especially the U.S., to prevent the massacre of a possible Israel invasion into Rafah, says WAFA. Mario and WFL. Okay, it might be an older story because I seem to recall seeing something to the effect that they had approved. I thought that was kind of already a given that it was approved, but they were still kind of holding off on it. Channel 13. Look this guy up. Mario and W Fall. Oh boy. His kind of like description is unfiltered, unbiased, verified 24/7 breaking news. Okay, that makes me like not confident in a guy at all that they say that it's unfiltered and unbiased. Okay, I do have 2 minutes ago. Hamas suspends ceasefire talks, which was something that we had seen over there. I don't actually see that one with cabinet approves the thing. He's genuine in his, yeah, well, he probably does believe it, right? But that's the thing. Maybe he took it back. I don't actually see that one, is he? Not that I don't trust you or anything, but I don't think I'm going to add him onto my thing, though. God. Hmm. Yeah, all the stuff that I'm seeing on my news squawks right now are about David Solomon. Inflation continues to be a little bit sticky. I don't know if the market cares that much about what David Solomon says, though, to be honest with you. Do you crying? No? Yes? I don't understand the question. Were you saying, are you crying? No. My eyes are... do I look like I'm crying? I have really watery eyes, so it would totally look like I'm crying sometimes to people. No. You know what I'm just thinking about is with that indicator we're talking about with Uzi. The other thing is that I was doing it on ES, not the Treasury. I don't think I tested it against the Treasury. So that's interesting thought too. Crypto's dump after? No, I don't see. I mean, they sold a little bit, but I don't really see crypto crashing because of the Wells notice. Romance scammer promised fake gold to bilk victims for millions. I knew I should have responded to all of those random Facebook Facebook requests. Just kept talking to them, let them try and scam me, just for fun, just so that I'm not so lonely. No, just actually, I don't get that many of those anymore. It used to be that I get so many requests on Facebook. What the heck? Where do these accounts come from? So dumb. Oh man, it's bringing up something that I said back in 2017 when they were trying to pass Obamacare if I go to Facebook. That's funny. Oh man, Furiosa, the social media onslaught campaign it's coming, folks. Wait, how soon is that one? Is that already out? "25th anniversary." I'm on Rotten Tomatoes. Apparently they're re-releasing The Mummy. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Oh wait, is it the 7th? Mobile Suit Gundam Freedom. Seed Freedom. What the? Am I the only one that thinks that that's kind of a suspect title? Seed Freedom. May 7th. That's tomorrow. Well, it's Gundam. I'm going to have to watch it. So. Okay, an Egyptian official is saying that they expect a Hamas delegation to arrive in Egypt tomorrow to continue negotiations. Meanwhile, sounds like Israel's moving in, like imminently. So I don't know. We are edging down a little bit again. So I kind of feel like I was correct here on the treasuries because I was saying, okay, so here I kind of was like, man, it's Monday. This happened. Okay, this happened too quickly for me to react to. There was this, and I was like, that's a little questionable. So I could have made this. Okay. But then it came down into here, and when it edged down to here, I said, well, it could be another leg of a meta order. But when it didn't, I said, I think that they're just going to kind of stick around here. And so now, for the rest of the session, it has been doing that. It's just been kind of going sideways. They might pressure and break lows again to try and, mess with people and stop runs and everything. I am noticing that the cumulative delta is a little bit long, though. So, like, some of us were saying, well, now the trade is return back to the VWAP, right? Or not the VWAP, the seller's cost basis. But I'm gonna say, that happens when there's like a really strong move and there's gonna be like a rebound. I don't know if that happened in this case. It looks like that the meta order has already stopped and it didn't pull back. It just sat down there. So, it could do this. Yes, I don't know if you really have any efficacy in there. But my call was that they're probably going to stick around here for a while now. That at least I think was correct, but it was kind of like, not a very good win, right? Because it's surely going to do something later in the day at some point. I would think. I don't think it's going to stay there the rest of the day, is it? Right? So, yeah. In my mind, kind of lackluster action, even though there was like a good move there for a bit. So, can I complain about something here? I hate it when people do the walnut, and it's like the way that they stain it makes it look light. I don't like the light colored walnut. I don't like the dark rich brown either. But yeah, kind of walnut kind of has this like desaturated grayish brown color. I like that. I don't know why you wouldn't bring that out. Anyways. Well, I got something at the top of the hour. We still got 5 minutes, though. 5 minutes for them to bust the low end of the range, perhaps. Wouldn't be hard. Well, 5,000 contracts. You'd need 5,000 contracts. I don't think that those are going to pull at 25, but we'll see. I don't know, man. The volume in the 10-year just doesn't seem to be there at the moment, doesn't it? Russia says it is what did they say? It sounded like that it's owed to them or something, that they can make tit for tat response in shooting wherever US missiles are at. Kind of maybe suggesting there shouldn't be any US personnel in those places. I don't know, man. That's getting a little. But I kind of wonder, am I the only one that feels like Russia is acting a little scared today? Like, it's been quiet, like the Ukrainian fronts have kind of been like breaking to some extent, and it's been relatively quiet. Like, I didn't see stuff on it, like the major news websites and stuff, until like long after that was already kind of a thing on like Reddit and Twitter and stuff. Now all of a sudden, I'm hearing tons of headlines over my news squawk about Russia says this, Russia says that, right? Is it like they're, Ukrainians are getting the weapons now and Russia is afraid? They just seem louder today than they was. Russia to consider F-16s in Ukraine as carriers of nuclear weapons? Russia being awfully loud today. Awfully loud today. Okay, well, there was my sound. I'm not going to stick around. I think that it's, it's a Monday. Well, They still haven't traded 24.5. I bet you that they do. I don't know if they can go further than that, though. I mean, there is liquidity below us. If we end up with another strong trend that pushes us a little bit further, that would be a surprise to me. It kind of it seems like that's some more like I think it's more likely that they continue down than it is that they come back to 27.5. But I guess we'll see. It's Monday. Anything can happen. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Well, it should be a better day with 10-year auction and all that. We might see some, I don't know if we'll have good trades, but it should be some really interesting close to watch. So see you guys then. In the meantime, stay excellent.